The political debate season is upon us, with the party leaders squaring off against each other tonight. So how is Chris Hipkins warming up for it, or has he been warming up for it at all? The Labor leader is with me this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Have you done much practice?
Look, probably not as much as I should have, but you know, in reality, I've always said, you know, as Prime Minister, what you see is what you get with me, and so. You know, it'll be the first time for both Christopher Luxon and I, and you know, it's an hour and a half debate, so there should be plenty of time to canvass a whole range of different topics.
But given where you are on the polls, shouldn't you put a little more effort in?
I've been out on the campaign trail. You know, obviously that's where my focus has been, getting out there and meeting as many people as I possibly can. But, you know, there will be a lot of people tuning in tonight, a lot of undecided voters tuning in tonight, and I hope it'll be an opportunity for them to, you know, learn more about what both the parties are talking about.
In total, how much actual practice have you done, do you reckon? How long?
I wouldn't put a time on it, but probably not as much as I should have.
OK. Let's talk about some of the issues that will probably be raised tonight, like your GST policy. Do you stand by that GST off fresh fruit and veggies policy? It's a central plank of your cost of living promise. Do you stand by the numbers in that?
Yes, I do.
OK. Do you stand by 1st of April, the average household will get $4.25 per week?
Yeah, that's based on the average calculations of what they're spending at the moment on fruit and vegetables.
What is the pass-through rate on that?
We're expecting the supermarkets, particularly, to pass through 100% of the 15% coming off fruit and vegetables. OK.
The tax working group sought advice on exactly this issue, and they said they've looked at the most comprehensive research into VAT taxes and rate reductions ever completed. They looked at rates in 17 Eurozone countries from 1999 to 2013, and they found that the pass-through rate on average was 30%.
The supermarkets have indicated that they're going to be passing through the discount.
You believe the supermarkets?
We have a grocery.
You trust the supermarkets?
We've put in place a grocery commissioner to check on that. I am concerned generally about the super. Oh, here we go.
Do you know what I'm concerned about?
I am concerned generally about the supermarkets not, you know, not treating their consumers well. It's one of the reasons why we need more competition in our supermarkets.
This is what I'm concerned about: is the cost of one of these. It's the cost of our fresh fruit and vegetables. And you're making some bold claims about.
I'm not sure what you're about to do with this.
Well, I want your security.
A little nervous.
I want your security to just not be alarmed by the knife on the desk at the moment. But this is what I'm concerned about. This is the cost of our fresh fruit and veggies, and you're making some really big claims for people who are really struggling at the moment. So let's take a look at what if we take the best research out there rather than your word, the best that people can hope for an average family per week is $1.20. That's going to get you half a cucumber. And if you look at the average number of people in a household, that's how much cucumber you get per person.
I'm not sure that the analogy that you're using there is necessarily a fair one. People will be buying...
But why not? But why not? Because that's all you can afford.
It's going to cut the... Well, you're only looking at the GST off fruit and vegetables contribution to that, but it is going to cut the cost of fruit and vegetables. In addition to that...
But how much?
But in addition to that, we've already also indicated...
Where do you get your numbers? Can you tell us where you've got your numbers for a 100% pass-through rate, given the best evidence says that it will be on average 30%? Where did you get 100% from?
Well, the supermarkets themselves have said that they're going to pass through the discount.
So this is all based off Chippy trusting the supermarkets, which you've spent the last 6 years bagging.
No, we're going to have a grocery commissioner to make sure that they do. And we have a grocery commissioner to make sure they do. So a supermarket watchdog who will be able to make sure they do pass through the discounts. But this is not the only policy that we've got. So in addition to removing the GST off fruit and vegetables, a policy I'm very proud of, we're also increasing working for families, which for a lot of the families that you just mentioned will give them an extra $25 a week. We've got free public transport for the under 25s, or sorry, for the under 13s, and half price for the under 25s. We're free dental care for the under 30s. These things cumulatively will make a big difference to those families.
All right. So if, in fact, it ends up...
That cucumber smells really good, by the way.
Yeah, it smells good, yeah. but it's bloody expensive. That's the problem. A lot of Kiwis can't afford to smell this right now. So if it turns out that this is all people get is a bite of a cucumber, that your pass-through rate doesn't eventuate, as it hasn't in large parts of Europe, would you resign?
I've indicated very clearly we're taking GST off fruit and vegetables, and we'll be making sure that it does get passed through to consumers.
If it doesn't, if it fails, would you resign?
I will make sure that it does.
Yeah, but if it doesn't, will you give the public a guarantee of some kind, some insurance, that you really mean it?
I will guarantee the public that we're going to continue our relentless focus on making sure that they're paying less at the checkout.
So you're not that confident in it?
Through having a grocery commissioner, through having better competition in the supermarket
if you're that confident,
and through taking GST off fruit and vegetables.
And if you're that confident in it, then back yourself.
No, I'm not going to make that commitment.
OK, all right, doesn't sound very confident. Let's talk about gangs. Apparently, a couple of months ago, Cabinet decided to not cancel funding to gangs who are involved in, or parts of gangs that are involved in funding programs like meth rehab, etc. Why did you make that decision? We
looked at what kind of programs would be cut and what kind of government services would be disrupted if we did that. So on the surface of it, I thought it was a good idea, so we asked for the advice to be put together. What we found was that a number of the programs that have actually been quite successful in getting people, so targeting women and children in gangs, for example, and getting them into a better space, would have ended up being cut. Now, these programs, in many cases, were actually put in place under the last National government, and there are people like Paula Bennett and Ann Tolley and John Key even on record as saying they're good programs. We would have ended up having to cut them. Other examples, the police contract tow truck companies, for example, to come and remove vehicles all the time. Gangs are often involved in tow truck companies. It would have been very difficult for the police. They would have had to identify any tow truck company that had a gang member in it and say, we're not going to contract with that company. It starts to become quite difficult.
And an outright ban is impractical.
Yeah.
What about, have you gone through line by line? Let's take that meth rehab program in Hawke's Bay, for example. Have you found out its success rate, a legitimate success rate of that yet? I
expect all of the procurement, the people doing that, to be making sure that they're going through line by line and procuring, paying for programs. I haven't done that, no. But you wouldn't.
Should you have done that? I mean, that was a huge problem for people.
Well, when we obviously, ultimately, that is the job of the agencies that contract those organisations to provide that, and I expect them to make sure they're getting value for money.
Queenstown, they're on a boil water notice this morning. Have you had any update from officials on what's going on there?
No, I think they're still trying to identify exactly what's gotten in. If in fact this has come from the water supply, what's gotten into the water supply and how.
All right, and Deborah Rhodes, who's one of your candidates, she described vaccines for teenagers to prevent cervical cancer as criminal, poison from Big Pharma, containing altered DNA, all that kind of stuff. Your thoughts?
I saw the statement that she also issued yesterday saying those were statements she made about 4 years ago. She has received more information, she's received more advice, and she's changed her position.
Do you care that much about it? Because I think a lot of people would say, well, you've got a big party, you've got a long list, you're going to have a few people who've got some ideas that are maybe outside of the mainstream. That just, in large parts, actually reflects society.
Well, as I also said yesterday when I was asked similar questions about a National Party candidate, I think people are free to change their minds. In politics and democracy, surely that's the goal. Actually, from now and then, you want to change people's minds.
You don't want to change your mind about the cucumber?
I see the way you double back there.
Yeah. It's a nice way to wrap things up. Thank you very much for coming in, as always. Great to have you in the studio. That is the Labour leader, Chris Hipkins, who will square off in his first televised leaders' debate against Chris Luxon tonight.